She saw the human split her champion in half. Now she and her maids are his concubines by law. The rain pattered against the ancient stone of Kdora fortress, each droplet catching the amber light of the torches that line the courtyard walls. Dunn hadn't planned on fighting for his life tonight. Hell, he hadn't planned on fighting at all. He'd come to this backwater alien trading post to deliver supplies and maybe enjoy a drink before heading back to Earth, but here he stood sword in hand facing an 8-foot-tall brute with blue skin and muscles that rippled like steel cables beneath a warrior ceremonial armor. "This is completely unnecessary," Emmett said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "I merely commented that your drink looked interesting." The massive alien warrior Durak snarled something in his native tongue that Emmett's translator implant render on as you dishonored Lady Era by addressing her without permission. Human filth. Emtt glanced toward the gathering crowd. At its center stood Era, a statuesque blue-kinned aristocrat whose silver hair cascaded down her back like liquid moonlight. Her sapphire eyes regarded him with cool detachment, a slight smirk playing on her full lips. Behind her stood 5 female servants, each with varying shades of azure skin and short practical haircuts. Their dark uniforms and white aprons marked them as household staff, but their bearing suggested they were more than simple maids. "Lady Era," Emtt addressed her directly, ignoring the growl from his opponent. "Call off your champion. There's no need for bloodshed tonight." Carrara's musical laugh cut through the patter of rain. "A human lecturing me on protocol. How amusing. The challenge has been issued according to ancient Kaldorian law. Durak fights for my honor. If you refuse, you forfeit your life anyway." She gestured lazily with one 6-fingered hand. "Begin." Emtt barely had time to raise his blade before Durak charged, swinging a wicked curved sword that whistled through the damp air. The human sidestepped his military training, kicking in as he assessed his opponent. Dirk was strong but slow, relying on brute force rather than technique. "Last chance," Emmett warned, circling cautiously. "I've been trained by the best swordsman in 3 systems." Durak's response was another wild swing that Emmet parried the impact, sending vibrations up his arm. The alien crowd murmured appreciatively, and Emtt caught a flicker of something surprise in Era's expression. For May 10th minutes they danced across the rain-soaked courtyard, steel meeting steel in a deadly rhythm. Emtt fought defensively, hoping the alien would tire or reconsider, but Durak pressed on with increasing fury. "Finish him, Durak," Era called out her earlier composure cracking slightly. "Stop toying with the human." Something in her tone, the dismissive arrogance, finally ignited Emtt's temper as Durak raised his sword for a powerful downward strike. Emtt saw his opening. He stepped inside the alien's guard, pivoted on his back foot, and channeled every ounce of strength into one perfect upward slash. His blade caught Durak at the waist and continued through with horrifying ease. Time seemed to slow. The alien's expression shifted from rage to disbelief as his upper body slid away from his lower half. Both pieces toppled to the stone courtyard with a sickening thud. Blue blood mixing with rainwater and expanding pools. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Emtt stood breathing heavily, his sword dripping with alien blood as he turned toward Era. The aristocrat's face had drained of color, her blue skin taking on an ashen hue for the first time. Uncertainty flickered in those sapphire eyes behind her. The maids exchanged glances of horror and something else Emtt couldn't quite identify. "I didn't want this fight," Emtt said softly, lowering his weapon. Era's composure shattered completely. With trembling hands she slowly, hesitantly sank to her knees before him. The maids immediately followed suit, their heads bowed. What are you doing?" Emmett asked, genuinely confused. An elderly alien stepped forward from the crowd. "The law is absolute, human. You have defeated Lady Era's champion in fair combat. By the ancient codes of Kiora, she and her household now belong to you. They are your concubines by law." Emtt stared in disbelief. "That's ridiculous. I don't want concubines. I just want to finish my delivery and leave." Nevertheless, the elder continued, "The law is the law. To reject them would bring dishonor worse than death. Lady Era is now yours, as are her personal servants." Emtt looked at Era, still kneeling in the rain, her silver hair now plastered to her face, her proud bearing replaced by resignation. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment he saw not an arrogant alien aristocrat but a woman trapped by traditions she couldn't escape. "Damn it," he muttered under his breath. This wasn't in the mission briefing. The rain had stopped by the time Emmett led his unexpected entourage to the spaceport. Eric walked stiffly Beside him, her silver hair now neatly braided her, bearing a mixture of wounded pride and resignation behind them trailed. Her 5 maids, Lena, Tara, Miradora, and Elin, each carrying small travel cases containing their meager personal belongings. "This is completely unnecessary," A said, breaking the uncomfortable silence. "On Kalora you would have been given a noble's estate befitting your new status." EMTT sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "Look, I'm not interested in estates or titles or concubines. I'm a delivery pilot, not a slave owner." "We are not slaves," Era corrected sharply. "Concubinage is a sacred bond of protection and companionship on Earth. We call that an outdated concept," Emmett replied, then immediately regretted his tone when he saw Era's shoulder stiffen. "I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get us all out of this situation with our dignity intact." The spaceport loomed ahead, a collection of sleek metal structures incongruously modern against the ancient stone architecture of the rest of the settlement. Emma's ship, the Artemis, was docked in Bay 17, a modest cargo vessel with just enough living space for a crew of 2, certainly not designed for 6 passengers. "Wait here," he instructed as they reached the entrance to the docking bay. "I need to prepare the ship and file a departure plan." A nodded curtly, but as EMTT turned to go, Lena, the youngest of the maids, stepped forward. "Master, done," she said, her voice soft but determined. "Perhaps I could assist you. I have some knowledge of spacecraft systems." EMTT blinked in surprise. "It's just EMTT, not master." "And sure, I guess come along." As they walked toward the Artemis, Lena moved with unexpected grace for someone who had spent her life in domestic service. "Your ship," she said, "it's a Terran Horizon class, isn't it?" "Mark 4. Mark 5, actually," Emmett replied, impressed. "How do you know about Earth ships?" A slight smile played on Lena's blue lips. "Not all of us spend our time merely serving tea, Emmett. I find xenotechnology fascinating." Inside the ship, EMTT headed straight for the control panel while Lena explored the compact living quarters with undisguised curiosity. "It's smaller than I expected," she commented, running her 6-fingered hand along the metal bulkhead. "It wasn't designed for a herm," Emmett said dryly. Lena's eyes widened, then she laughed, a musical sound that caught Emmett off guard. "Is that what you think we are, a herm?" "Oh, the lady Era would be mortified." "What would you call it then in our culture?" "A noble's household is like, I believe humans would say, family. Each member has their role, their purpose. The physical aspects are secondary to the bond of loyalty and protection." EMTT frowned as he initiated the pre-flight sequence. "A still sounds like a power imbalance to me, perhaps," Lena conceded, moving closer to observe his work. "But isn't that true of many human relationships as well, just in different ways?" Before EMTT could respond, the ship's console emitted a harsh warning beep. The diagnostic screen flashed red, displaying a critical error in the propulsion system. "Damn it," EMTT muttered, fingers flying over the controls. "Someone's tampered with the fuel injection manifold. We're not going anywhere until it's fixed." Lena peered at the screen. "Sabotage looks that way. Question is, who doesn't want us leaving Kdora?" When they returned to the others with the bad news, Era's expression darkened. "It's Prefect Norland," she said without hesitation. "He's coveted my family's position for years. He wouldn't allow a human to claim what he believes should be his." "Great, Emmett, so we're stuck here until I can get replacement parts, which could take days." "We cannot stay at the spaceport," Era insisted. "Norland has spies everywhere. We need safe lodging." And EMTT ran a hand through his hair again. "A habit when stressed. I know a place. There's an inn near the trading district run by a retired Earth Marine. He owes me a favor." As they made their way through the winding streets of the alien city, EMTT couldn't help noticing how the 5 maids had positioned themselves protectively around Era and himself. Despite their seemingly subservient status, there was something undeniably fierce about their loyalty. The inn, called the Distant Home, was a curious blend of Earth and Kalorian architecture. Inside, the common room was warm and inviting, with a large fireplace and tables made from local hardwood. "Done," boomed a voice from behind the bar. A burly human with a scar running down one cheek grinned broadly. "What trouble have you gotten yourself into now?" "The usual, Harding," Emmett replied with a smile. "Need rooms for the night, preferably with a back exit." Harding's eyes widened as he took in EMTT's companions. Well, moving up in the world, aren't you, lady?" "Herself, if I'm not mistaken." Erin inclined her head slightly but said nothing. "It's not what you think," EMTT began, then stopped. "Actually, it's exactly what you think, but not by choice." "Long story," Harding laughed. "Always is with you. I've got 2 adjoining rooms upstairs. Private bath with actual water, not that sonic nonsense." As they settled into Their rooms, the reality of their close quarters became apparent. The maids efficiently arranged the space, transforming the simple inn rooms into something more comfortable while I stood by the window gazing out at the alien cityscape. You should rest, Emmett told her. Tomorrow we'll figure out how to fix the ship. Era turned to face him, her blue features illuminated by the soft glow of the room's lighting. For the first time EMTT noticed flecks of gold in her sapphire eyes. Why are you helping us? She asked directly. You could have left us behind, claimed the law was satisfied. Once you left Kildare in space. EMTT shrugged. Not my style. Besides, I've got a feeling Norland wouldn't have let you off that easily. A hint of a smile touched Ira's lips. Perhaps there is more to humans than I first believed. From across the room EMTT caught Lena watching their exchange with undisguised interest. A knowing smile playing on her face. Something in her gaze made his skin warm unexpectedly. This was going to be a complicated situation indeed. Morning arrived with a gentle chiming from somewhere in the inn. EMTT awoke disoriented, momentarily forgetting the bizarre turn his simple delivery mission had taken. The events of the previous day came flooding back as he noticed Mira, one of ER's maids, silently arranging fresh clothing at the foot of his bed. Good morning, he said, pulling the covers higher. Mira jumped slightly, her blue skin darkening around her cheeks in what EMTT assumed was the Keldorian equivalent of a blush. Forgiveness, Master EMTT, I did not mean to disturb your rest. Just EMTT, he corrected automatically. And you didn't disturb me, but maybe next time. Knock. She tilted her head, clearly confused. But you are a master now. There is no need for such formalities between. There is for me. EMTT interrupted gently. Where I come from, people respect each other's privacy. Mira considered this, then nodded slowly. I will inform the others of this human custom. After she left, EMTT dressed quickly in the fresh clothes she'd provided, simple garments in the Kaldorian style but tailored for human proportions. He wondered where they'd gotten them on such short notice. Downstairs he found Harding behind the bar polishing glasses. The former Marine grinned at him knowingly. Your blue ladies are causing quite a stir, Harding said, nodding toward a side door. They've commandeered my bathhouse for some ritual cleansing. Apparently it's required after a change in household status. EMTT groaned. I keep telling them there's been no change in status. We're just traveling together until I can get my ship fixed. Harding's grin widened. Tell that to them, the tall one. Era, she's been instructing my staff on proper water temperature and mineral content for the past hour. Something about preparing for the master's arrival. What? Apparently you're expected to join them. Some kind of formal acknowledgement of your new arrangement. EMTT ran a hand through his hair. This is ridiculous. I'm not participating in some alien concubine ritual. Might want to reconsider, Harding said, his expression turning serious. My cook's Kaldorian says refusing would be a grave insult, especially to a noble like Era. Could make your situation even more complicated. How could it possibly get more complicated? You'd be surprised what complications can arise from cultural misunderstandings in deep space. Harding replied, his scar twitching as he frowned. Trust me on this, Don. Sometimes it's easier to bend a little than break something that can't be fixed. EMTT sighed deeply. Fine, but I'm keeping my undergarments on. Harding burst out laughing. Good luck with that plan. The bathhouse was a traditional Kaldorian design, a large central pool surrounded by smooth stone benches with steam rising from the mineral-rich water. As EMTT entered, he found Era and her 5 maids already present, each wrapped in thin white robes. You've arrived, Era said, her usual haughty tone softened slightly. We were beginning to think you might refuse the cleansing of new bonds. I considered it, Emmett admitted. This whole situation still feels wrong to me. Ira's expression flickered with something hurt annoyance. Wrong to be bound to a noble house of Caldoria, to have people bound to me against their will, Emmett clarified. Lena stepped forward, her expression earnest. It is not against our will, EMTT, it is our way. The laws that bind us also protect us. Without them, without you now, we would be vulnerable to those like Prefect Norland. EMTT hadn't considered that angle. So this is about protection among other things, Tara, the tallest of the maids, added with a slight smile that made EMTT suddenly very aware of the steam's heat. A cleared her throat. The ritual requires immersion. You must disrobe. EMTT hesitated, then remembered Harding's warning about cultural insults. With a resigned sigh he turned his back and quickly stripped down to his underwear before slipping into the hot water. The Keldorian women exchanged glances, and Dora, the oldest maid, whispered something that made the others giggle. What? EMTT asked suddenly. Self-conscious. Forgive them, Era said, though her own lips twitched with amusement. They've never seen a human male before. Your pigmentation is unusual to us. My pigmentation. Emmett repeated flatly, and other attributes, Elin the quietest maid added. With unexpected boldness, before EMTT could respond, Era removed her robe and entered the water, followed by her maids. Their blue skin glistened in the steam, their bodies similar to human women but with subtle differences, slightly elongated limbs, more pronounced musculature, and faint patterns that seemed to shimmer across their skin like living tattoos. EMTT found himself staring before he caught himself and looked away. So this ritual, he said quickly, what exactly does it involve? First, the acknowledgement of bonds. Era explained, moving closer to him in the water. I, as the primary concubine, must anoint you with sacred oils. She produced a small vial from somewhere and poured fragrant oil into her palm. Before EMTT could object, she was smoothing it across his shoulders, her touch sending unexpected shivers down his spine. Then she continued, her voice lower, each member of the household does the same, affirming their place in your protection. One by one the maids approached, each applying the oil to different parts of his body, arms, chest, back, their touches lingering just long enough to make EMTT's heart race. The ritual took on a dreamlike quality, and the steamed cultural barriers momentarily dissolved by the intimacy of touch and the strange beauty of this alien ceremony. When Lena, the last to approach, finished her part, she remained close, her golden fleck eyes meeting his. Now you must complete the circle, she whispered. You must acknowledge us in return. How? Empt asked, his voice unexpectedly. Era moved to his side, guiding his oil-slicked hand to her shoulder. Like this for each of us. As EMTT completed the ritual, touching each woman in turn, he felt something shift between them, a connection forming that transcended the legal bonds of their arrangement. In the steam and heat, surrounded by these strange, beautiful alien women, his resistance to their situation began to melt away. Later, as they dressed in silence, approached him privately. You understand now, don't you? This is not servitude, it is belonging. EMTT nodded slowly. I'm beginning to, but on Earth belonging works differently. It's about choice, not ancient laws or combat victories, perhaps, Era said thoughtfully. There is wisdom in both our ways. As they left the bathhouse, EMTT noticed Harding waiting with a knowing smirk. Cultural understanding achieved, the innkeeper asked. Something like that, EMTT replied, unable to keep a slight smile from his face. What none of them noticed was the hooded figure watching from across the street, who slipped away to report to Prefect Norland that evening. EMTT sat alone in his room, replaying the bathhouse ritual in his mind. The sensation of blue fingers against his skin lingered like phantom touches, both unsettling and oddly comforting. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called, expecting Harding with news about ship parts. Instead, Era entered, her silver hair loose around her shoulders, wearing a simple robe rather than her usual formal attire. Without her customary haughty bearing, she looked younger, almost vulnerable. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. Alone? EMTT gestured to the room's only chair while he remained seated on the bed. What's wrong? Era didn't sit. Instead, she paced her bare feet, silent on the wooden floor. I haven't been entirely truthful with you, EMTT. That's not exactly surprising, he replied dryly. We barely know each other. This isn't about us. She stopped pacing and faced him directly. It's about why Prefect Norland wants us so badly. From within her robe, Era withdrew a small object wrapped in iridescent cloth. Carefully, she unwrapped it to reveal a translucent cube that seemed to pulse with inner light, shifting colors from deep blue to vibrant purple. What is that? EMTT asked, leaning forward. The heart of Caloria, Era whispered, an artifact from the first age, before my people even had written language. It's been in my family's keeping for 20 generations. EMTT studied the cube without touching it. And Norland wants it. He's obsessed with it. The heart is said to contain in the genetic memory of our ancestors a complete record of Keldoran history and knowledge. Legend says it can also enhance certain traits in its keeper. What kind of traits? Era's eyes met his blue depths. Troubled fertility, longevity, power. The legends vary, but all agree that the heart bonds with its keeper and their chosen mate, and you're its keeper now. She nodded. Since my father's death 3 cycles ago, Norland believes it should have passed to him. As my father's military advisor, he's been trying to force me into a bonding ceremony ever since. EMTT stood, suddenly understanding the bigger picture. So when I defeated your champion, you became the only one who could legally claim both me and the heart. Era confirmed. Norland can't touch either of us now without violating our most sacred laws, but he won't stop trying. EMTT ran a hand Through his hair. Why tell me this now? Because the heart is responding to you. Era held out the cube which pulsed more rapidly as it neared EMTT. It's never done this with anyone outside my bloodline and I'm experiencing changes. Emp repeated, suddenly concerned. What kind of changes? Era's blue skin darkened along her cheeks. Physical changes, heightened awareness, increased sensitivity. The maids have noticed it too, though less intensely. It's as if the heart is preparing us. Preparing you for what? Bonding, she said simply, in the most complete sense. The implications hung in the air between them. EMTT cleared his throat. Era, I'm not proposing we act on it, she interrupted, her aristocratic pride reasserting itself. I'm merely explaining what's happening. The heart must be taken off world, away from Norland. Once we reach Earth space our arrangement can end. EMTT wasn't sure why her clinical tone bothered him, but it did, and the changes you're experiencing, they'll fade once the heart accepts. We won't complete the bond. She rewrapped the artifact carefully, but until then things may be intense between us, between all of us, as if summoned by her words. Another knock came at the door. Lena entered carrying a tray of food, her eyes widening slightly at finding Era there. Forgive the interruption, she said, setting down the tray unheard. Suggested you might be hungry after today's activities. EMTT couldn't help noticing how Lena's gaze lingered on him, or how Era's posture stiffened in response. The tension in the room shifted, charged with something beyond simple awkwardness. I should go, Era said, abruptly moving toward the door. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. After she left, Lena remained straightening items on the tray that needed no straightening. She told you about the heart, she said. It wasn't a question, you knew. Lena nodded. We all do. We're bound to Era's house, which means we're bound to the heart as well. We feel its effects, though less strongly than she does. These effects? EMTT began, unsure how to phrase his question delicately. Are they uncomfortable for you? A smile played at Lena's lips. Quite the opposite. The heart enhances natural attractions, it doesn't create false ones. She moved closer, her voice dropping. What we feel is real, EMTT. The heart merely amplifies it. Before EMTT could respond, Lena reached out and brushed her fingers against his hand, a seemingly innocent gesture that sent a jolt of electricity through him. We should prepare to leave tomorrow, she said, her tone suddenly businesslike again. Norland spies were in the market today. It won't take him long to find us here. The ship's still not fixed, Emmett reminded her. Then we'll need another way off planet. Lena headed for the door, pausing with her hand on the latch. By the way, Era may present herself as cold and distant, but don't be fooled. She feels the heart's effects more strongly than any of us. With a knowing smile she added, sleep well, EMTT, and slipped out. Left alone, EMTT stared at the space where she had stood, his mind racing with implications. The situation had just become exponentially more complicated. Not only was he responsible for 6 alien women by some archaic law, but now there was a mysterious artifact, a power-hungry prefect, and a growing attraction that might not be entirely natural yet. As he lay down to sleep, EMTT couldn't deny that, artifact or no artifact, something about these blue-kinied women had gotten under his skin in a very human way. Dawn broke over Caloria's capital with an ominous red glow. EMTT stood at the window of his room, watching as Prefect Norland's guards increased their patrols. In the streets below, they weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. A knock at the door revealed Harding, his expression grim. We need to talk, the former Marine said, entering and closing the door firmly behind him. Your situation just got more complicated. Hard to imagine how, Emmett replied. Norland declared you a thief of cultural artifacts. He's got the spaceport locked down tight, your ship included. EMTT cursed under his breath. So we're trapped? Not exactly. Harding lowered his voice. I've got a small emergency shuttle hidden in a warehouse near the old Temple District. Military surplus from the border conflicts. It's not much, but it's space-worthy. Hope flared in EMTT's chest. That's fantastic news. There's a catch, Harding continued. It only seats 3-4 if you really squeeze, but that's pushing the life support capacity for anything beyond planetary orbit. The implications hit EMTT like a punch to the gut. I can't leave 3 of them behind. You might not have a choice. Norland's men will be here by midday. Harding placed a hand on EMTT's shoulder. Sometimes being in command means making the hard calls. After Harding left, EMTT gathered Era and her maids in his room to break the news. Their reactions were varied but intense. This is unacceptable, Era declared, pacing the small space. My household cannot be divided. We don't have a choice. EMTT countered. 3 go now, 3 go later, when I can arrange a Second trip or fix my ship, and who decides which of us stays behind to face Norland's wrath? Tara asked, her usual calm demeanor cracking. The room fell silent as the question hung in the air, the heart of Ghidorah sitting wrapped on the table seemed to pulse more intensely, as if sensing the tension. I'll stay, Lena said suddenly. I know enough about ships to help EMTT repair his vessel once Norland's attention is elsewhere. No, Era countered immediately. As head of the household you must go. Emmett interrupted, you're the keeper of the heart. If Norland gets his hands on you, it's game over. Era's blue skin flushed darker. You presume to tell me my duty? I presume to keep you alive. Emmet shot back, surprising himself with his vehemence. Their eyes locked in a silent battle of wills, the air between them almost crackling with tension. Finally Era looked away. Very well, she conceded. I will go along with Mira and Elin as they are youngest and most vulnerable. Lena, Tara and Dora will remain with you. The decision made, they began preparations to leave as the others packed the few belongings they had. Lena pulled EMTT aside. There's something you should know, she whispered, her golden fleck eyes serious. The heart's influence is growing stronger. Era is changing more rapidly than expected. What do you mean? The heart forms a bond between its keeper and their chosen mate. It's preparing her body for continuation of the bloodline. EMTT stared at her. Are you saying it's making her fertile? More than that, it's aligning her physiology with yours and making her compatible with human genetics. Lena glanced toward where Era was carefully wrapping the heart. She may not show it, but she's experiencing intense physical reactions to your presence. We all are too. Varying degrees. EMTT thought back to the bathhouse ritual, the lingering touches, the charged atmosphere. The heart is causing this attraction. No, Lena said firmly. The attraction was already there. The heart merely facilitates what would naturally follow from such attraction. Before EMTT could respond, Dora approached with news that Harding had the shuttle ready. It was time to go. The journey to the warehouse was tense, the group splitting up to avoid attention. EMTT led Era, Mira and Aelin through back alleys while Harding guided Lena, Tara and Dora by a different route. When they reunited at the warehouse, the shuttle sat waiting, a small battered craft that had seen better days, but their only hope of escape. It's pre-programmed to reach the orbital station, Harding explained. From there you can arrange transport to Earth space. As Era prepared to board with Mira and Elin, she hesitated, turning back to EMTT for a moment. Her aristocratic facade cracked, revealing genuine emotion. You will follow soon? She asked, her voice uncharacteristically vulnerable. As soon as possible, Emmett promised. Keep the heart safe. Era stepped closer, her blue fingers reaching up to touch his face. The heart is not the only thing I wish to keep safe, she murmured. Before EMTT could respond, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. A gesture she must have learned was significant to humans. The kiss was brief but electric, sending a jolt through EMTT that left him momentarily speechless. When they parted, Era's eyes were wide, as if she too was surprised by the intensity of the connection behind her. Mara and Elin exchanged knowing glances that said softly, was not the heart's influence alone? As she turned to aboard the shuttle, EMTT caught Lena watching the exchange, her expression unreadable. When their eyes met, she offered a small smile that somehow conveyed both understanding and promise. The shuttle's engines hummed to life and EMTT stepped back as the small craft rose from the warehouse floor. Through the viewport he could see Era watching him, one hand pressed against the glass, the other clutching the wrapped heart. After the shuttle disappeared into the morning sky, Harding clapped EMTT on the shoulder. They'll be fine now. We need to focus on getting the rest of you out of here. As they left the warehouse, Lena fell into step beside EMTT. She'll be safe now, she said reassuringly. I know, Emmett replied, though his thoughts were still with a departing shuttle, and we'll find a way to join them soon. Tara added from his other side, Dora walking ahead with Harding glanced back with a knowing smile. In the meantime, we'll take good care of our human. Something in her tone made EMTT glance sharply at her, then at Lena and Tarara, who both wore similar expressions of determined affection. He suddenly realized that while Era might have taken the heart with her, its effects lingered in those left behind, and perhaps in himself as well. The journey back to the end would be complicated indeed. 3 days after Era's departure, EMTT and the remaining maids had established a hidden workshop in the basement of an abandoned building near the spaceport. Using parts smuggled by Harding, they worked tirelessly to repair EMTT's ship, the Artemis. Hand me that molecular bonder, Emmett called from beneath the console where he was reconnecting navigation circuits. Lena passed him the tool, their fingers brushing in a touch that lingered seconds longer than necessary. These moments had been happening with increasing frequency, casual contacts that sent electricity coursing through his body. You're quite skilled for a Delivery pilot, Lena observed kneeling beside him to hold a light steady. I wasn't always a delivery pilot, Emmett admitted, former Earth Fleet Engineering Division. A warrior and a builder. Tara commented from where she was recalibrating the fuel injectors, no wonder the heart responded to you. EMTT slid out from under the console, wiping grease from his hands. Speaking of the heart, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. All seem different since Era left. A more forward Doris suggested with a smile that made EMTT's pulse quick and affectionate. Yeah, he admitted, I thought the heart's influence would fade once Era took it away. The three maids exchanged glances before Lena spoke. We need to tell you something important. The heart's effects on us are permanent. What do you mean permanent? The heart doesn't just influence emotions, Tara explained, setting down her tools. It physically alters those connected to it. Our bodies have changed at the cellular level to become more compatible with yours. EMTT stared at her. Compatible biologically speaking, Dora clarified, her scientific background evident in her precise explanation. Calderans and humans shouldn't be able to reproduce. Our genetic structures are too different, but the heart has been modifying us, all of us, including Era, to make cross-species reproduction possible. That's Emmett struggled to find the right word. Intimate, Lena suggested, moving closer to him. Yes, the heart doesn't force feelings, EMTT, it only facilitates what's already there. The implications hung in the air between them before EMTT could respond. The emergency communicator Harding had provided crackled to life. EMTT, Era's voice came through, distorted by static. Norland's forces intercepted us before we reached the orbital station. We're being held at his fortress. He wants the heart, but it's her voice cut off abruptly. EMTT lunged for the communicator. Era, can you hear me? After a moment of static, her voice returned, weaker. The heart is protecting us for now, but it's draining me. I'm experiencing changes, accelerated effects. EMTT, I think the transmission died completely. Damn it, Emmett slammed his fist against the wall. We need to get to her. Norland's fortress is impenetrable, Tara said, her military background evident in her assessment. Guards, security systems, force fields. Nothing's impenetrable, EMTT countered, already formulating a plan. Lena, how close are we to getting the Aramis operational? The navigation and life support are fixed. We still need to repair the weapon systems and shields. Forget those, we just need it to fly. EMTT turned to Dora. You mentioned you worked in Norland's household before joining Era's. Do you know the layout of his fortress? Dora nodded. Every corridor and secret passage I can guide us. Good, Tara. Your combat training might come in handy. How are you with Kellorian weapons? Tara smiled grimly. Better than most of Norland's guards as they finalized their rescue plan. EMTT noticed Lena watching him with an intensity that made his skin warm. When the others stepped away to gather supplies, she approached him. There is something else you should know, she said quietly. Era's final words about experiencing changes, I believe she meant pregnancy. EMTT felt the blood drain from his face. That's impossible. We never the heart, Lena explained. It doesn't require traditional intimacy to facilitate reproduction, especially when the connection is as strong as yours and Era's. That kiss you shared before she left may have been enough. So she's pregnant with my child, a human Caldorian hybrid, the first of its kind, Lena confirmed, which makes her even more valuable to Norland. A child born of the heart's keeper and her chosen mate would have unprecedented connection to the artifact. EMTT ran a hand through his hair, processing this revelation. All the more reason to get to her quickly. Lena placed a hand on his chest, her touchway sending warmth spreading through him. Before we go, there's one more thing. You should understand what Era is experiencing. The physical changes, the heightened connection. We're all experiencing it to some degree. The heart has bound us all to you. Done. Her golden fleck eyes held his, and in them he saw not subservience or obligation, but genuine affection and desire. Without thinking, he leaned forward and kissed her, a human gesture she returned with surprising familiarity when they parted. Lena smiled. I've been waiting for you to do that since the bathhouse. I wasn't sure if it was appropriate given the circumstances in Calorian culture. It would be inappropriate not to acknowledge such feelings, she explained. Our bonds are meant to be honored, not denied. From across the room, Tara cleared her throat. If you two are finished, we have a rescue to plan. But her tone held no jealousy, only amused affection. When EMTT glanced at her and Dora, he saw the same warmth in their eyes that he'd seen in Lena's. The realization both complicated and simplified everything. These women weren't his concubines by some archaic law, they were his partners by choice, bound together by circumstances none of them had anticipated, but all had come to embrace as night fell over Caloria. They made final preparations to infiltrate Norland's fortress. The Artemis was barely space-worthy, but it would have to Their plan was simple but dangerous: use Dora's knowledge to enter the fortress undetected, free Era and the others, and escape to the ship before Norland realized what was happening. What none of them could predict was how the heart would respond when all 7 of them were reunited, or what new changes it might bring. Norland's fortress loomed against Dora's night sky, its ancient stone walls illuminated by security lights. EMTT, Lena, Tara and Dora crouched behind a maintenance shed, studying the patrol patterns of the guards. "There's our window," Dora whispered, pointing to a service entrance. "The guards change shifts in exactly 3 minutes. We'll have 40 seconds to reach that door." EMTT nodded, feeling the reassuring weight of the sword strapped to his back, the same weapon he'd used against Durak. It seemed fitting that it might taste Norland's blood next. "Remember," Lena cautioned, "Era and the others are being held in the East Tower. The heart will be with Era. It won't leave her now." When the moment came, they moved like shadows across the courtyard. Dora's knowledge proved invaluable as she guided them through servant passages and hidden quarters. Twice they narrowly avoided patrols pressing into a love's bodies flush against each other in the darkness. "You smell different than Kaldorian men," Tara whispered during one such moment, her breath warm against EMTT's neck. "More earthy. It's intoxicating." "Focus," Emmett murmured, though he couldn't deny the thrill her words sent through him. They reached the base of the East Tower without incident. As they ascended the spiral staircase, EMTT felt a strange pulling sensation in his chest, growing stronger with each step. "The heart," Lena explained, noticing his expression. "It senses you." At the top of the tower, 2 guards stood before a heavy door. Before EMTT could formulate a plan, Tarara stepped forward with surprising confidence. "The prefect requires the prisoner," she stated in flawless formal Kaldorian, her bearings suddenly aristocratic. The guards hesitated, confused by her authoritative tone. It was all the opening EMTT needed. He struck with lightning speed, rendering both unconscious before they could sound an alarm. "Impressive," Dora commented, eyes